Today we're going to tackle one of the most consequential and frankly tragic events of the 20th century. We're going to break down how a single line drawn on a map completely reshaped a subcontinent forever. This is the story of the 1947 partition of British India.
It all comes down to this one year, 1947.
This was the year the British Raj, that's British rule in India, finally came to an end. But it was also the year that saw the violent birth of two brand new nations, India and Pakistan. It's a story of incredible hope and just unimaginable horror, all happening at the exact same time. So, to really get our heads around this, we're going to trace the story right from the beginning. We'll start with the political seeds of division. Then we'll look at Britain's super-rushed exit, the disastrous way the border was drawn, the human catastrophe that followed, and finally, the bitter legacy that, well, it continues to this day.
Okay, so how did the idea of splitting one of the world's biggest countries even get on the table? Well, this wasn't some sudden decision. It was the result of a political and religious rift that just kept getting wider and wider until it was impossible to fix.
And right at the heart of this was the All India Muslim League. Now, it was founded way back in 1906, and its core argument was pretty simple. In a unified, independent India, the Muslim population would become a permanent political minority. Their fear was that their interests would just always be ignored by the Hindu majority.
And this, right here, shows you the deadlock perfectly. On one side, you've got the Indian National Congress, led by big names like Gandhi and Nehru. Their vision, a single, secular India. But on the other side, you have the Muslim League, led by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. He became absolutely convinced that the only way to protect Muslim interests was to create a totally separate state, Pakistan. You see the problem, right? Two incredibly powerful movements with completely opposite goals for the future.
Now let's get to the second key piece of this puzzle, which was like throwing gasoline on a fire. Britain's decision to leave, and, more importantly, the insane speed at which they did it.
Look, after the massive cost of World War II, the British Empire was, for all intents and purposes, bankrupt. It was deeply in debt, and it just didn't have the money or the political will to hang on to its huge empire anymore. So for India, independence was no longer a question of if, but when. To manage this whole thing, they sent in Lord Mountbatten. He was the very last viceroy, basically the king's top guy in India. And his original mission was to oversee a careful, deliberate transfer of power over the course of about a year.
Yeah, that was the plan. But as political violence started to spin out of control on the ground, Mountbatten made a truly fateful decision. He came to believe that a faster withdrawal would somehow calm things down, not make them worse.
And you can see right here just how insane that timeline became. What was supposed to be a slow, year-long process got squeezed into a few months. And then, in the final, frantic rush, it was condensed into a matter of weeks. And this incredible hurry would have, as you can imagine, devastating consequences.
So, with two new countries now a certainty, and the clock ticking faster and faster, someone had to do the impossible. Draw a brand new border right through the heart of communities that had lived together for centuries.
The man they picked for this impossible job was a British lawyer named Sir Cyril Radcliffe. He was literally given the power to decide the fate of millions of people. And his qualifications for this job? Get this. His main qualification was that he had zero prior knowledge of India. He had never even been there before. I mean, this is just a perfect example of the colonial mindset at the time, the idea that an outsider would somehow be impartial. But really, that impartiality was just plain ignorance. He had no clue about the culture, the geography, or the interwoven communities he was about to slice into with nothing but outdated maps and religious census data. And the amount of time he was given to do this monumental, life-altering job? Just 5 weeks. 5. It's an impossibly short time to draw a border that would change a continent forever. And here's the part that is just mind-boggling. On August 15, 1947, India and Pakistan celebrated their independence, but millions of people in places like Punjab and Bengal had no idea which country they were now living in. The final borderlines, the so-called Radcliffe Line, were kept secret until 2 days after independence. This decision created a total information vacuum, and it was immediately filled with fear, rumors, and just absolute panic.
And that panic just exploded. It triggered one of the largest and fastest mass migrations in all of human history. This is where the whole plan completely unraveled into chaos. An estimated 17 million people, Hindus and Sikhs on the Pakistan side, Muslims on the India side, were suddenly refugees in their own land, forced to flee their homes. 17 million.
And in the brutal sectarian violence that erupted all along these brand new borders, it's estimated that around 1 million people were killed.
And so, just like that, the partition was complete. British India was gone. In its place were two new independent nations forged in fire, the Republic of India and the Dominion of Pakistan, which at the time also included the land we now know as Bangladesh.
Eventually, the immediate violence of 1947 died down. But that line drawn in the sand created a deep geopolitical wound that has, well, never really healed. You see, the partition didn't solve the political tensions. It basically locked them into place forever. It created two rival, nuclear-armed states that have fought multiple wars since 1947. It left behind the completely unresolved and bitterly contested territory of Kashmir, which is still one of the most militarized places on the planet. The rivalry born in 1947 continues to define South Asia to this very day.
And that really brings us to the big question. The events of 1947 are just a sobering reminder of how decisions made in a hurry by people who are totally removed from the consequences can echo for generations. It's a question the region is still grappling with today. If you found this summary helpful for understanding this incredibly complex piece of history, please subscribe to Notebook Summaries and go check out the rest of our South Asia history playlist. Thanks for watching.